At 11:47 p.m., Maya's home security app sent her a notification. One word: motion detected. The camera it came from was pointed at an empty nursery, a room she hadn't used in 6 years, ever since they'd converted it into storage. She almost ignored it. Old houses creak, branches scratch against windows, cats wander onto porches. But something about the timestamp made her stop scrolling on her phone. It was still counting. Liv, stay with me till the end, because this footage doesn't stop when it should. Maya had moved into the house alone after the divorce. It was too big for one person. She knew that. But it was cheap. And cheap was all she could afford after the lawyers took their share. The nursery had been her one condition when she signed the lease. She needed a room to lock away everything from that part of her life. Boxes of baby clothes that were never worn past a certain age. A crib she couldn't bring herself to sell. She'd installed a cheap camera in there years ago, back when she still checked on it out of habit, out of grief. She hadn't opened that app in months. She opened it now. The feed loaded slowly, the way cheap apps do, pixel by pixel resolving into a grainy image of the room. The crib sat exactly where she'd left it, draped in a white sheet, dust visible even through the low-resolution feed. Moonlight cut through the blinds in thin silver bars across the floor. Nothing moved. She almost laughed at herself, already reaching to close the app, and then the sheet shifted. Not fluttered, not swayed like fabric caught in a draft. It shifted the way something shifts when it's being pushed from underneath. Maya sat up straight in bed, thumb hovering over the screen, her own heartbeat suddenly the loudest thing in the house. There was no window open in that room. She'd checked it herself, every lock, every latch, back when she first moved in, and couldn't sleep from the unfamiliar house sounds. No draft, no vents near the crib. And yet the sheet had moved, and now it lay still again, as if it had never happened, as if she'd imagined it. Before I show you what she found next, if stories like this keep you up at night, I want you to sit with that feeling for a second, because it only gets worse from here. Would you have closed the app right then? Most people say yes. Maya didn't. Her phone buzzed again. A second notification, but not from the nursery. This one came from a camera labeled simply Camera 2. Maya didn't own a Camera 2. She'd only ever installed one camera in this house, the one in the nursery, years ago, and never touched the settings since. She opened the device list with shaking hands. There it was, grayed out in the interface like a ghost entry, but active. A small red dot blinked beside it. Recording. She tapped it. The feed took longer to load this time. Stuttering, the way a weak signal does when it's traveling from somewhere it shouldn't be able to reach. When the image finally resolved, Maya's stomach dropped somewhere she couldn't find it again. It was her own bedroom, filmed from a high corner near the ceiling, a corner where there was no camera, no mount, no wire, nothing but paint and shadow. And on the screen, she saw herself, sitting exactly where she was sitting now, phone in hand, lit only by the glow of her own screen. She spun around so fast her neck ached. Empty corner. There. Ceiling. Nothing there. She looked back down at her phone. On the feed, the version of her on-screen was no longer holding her phone up to her face. She was looking directly upward, at the corner, at the camera that shouldn't exist. If you think you know where this is going, stay with me, because this is where it actually gets worse. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she backed out of the bedroom, phone still in her grip, refusing to look away from the screen even as she stumbled into the hallway. She didn't turn on the lights. Some instinct told her that whatever was happening wanted her to see clearly, and she didn't want to give it that. She made it to the kitchen, back against the counter, phone screen the only light in the house. That's when the nursery notification came back. She almost didn't open it. Every rational part of her screamed to throw the phone across the room, to call someone, anyone, to leave the house right then in her socks, and never come back for her things. But some older, more stubborn part of her needed to know. She opened the feed one last time. The crib sheet was gone. Not disturbed, gone, folded with unnatural precision, and placed neatly on the floor beside the crib. Corners perfectly squared, like something had taken the time to do it right. And across the dusty crib rail, pressed into 6 years of undisturbed grime, were words, written the way a finger writes in dust. Slow and deliberate. You always forget I'm still recording. Maya's phone screen went black. Not the app closing. Every camera, every feed, the entire interface, gone at once, as though something had reached through the screen and switched it off from the other side. She stood alone in her dark kitchen, breathing too fast, staring at a phone that no longer showed her anything at all. And she understood, with a certainty that settled into her bones like cold water, that something in this house had been watching her long before tonight, watching her unpack boxes, watching her cry in rooms she thought were empty, watching her sleep. And it had never once stopped recording. Maya moved out 3 weeks later. She left most of her furniture behind. She couldn't bring herself to go back into that bedroom to collect it, let alone the nursery. She never spoke about what happened to anyone who would believe her, and eventually, she stopped trying. But if you search that address online today, you'll still find one listing under available rentals. It has a single review, left by a tenant, who, according to the property records, never officially moved in. It reads, "The nursery camera works fine. I just wish it only recorded the room." If this story got under your skin, you already know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to TUV, and send it to someone who won't sleep tonight. TUV. Textify with visuals. Every story feels real. Every message means something.